At the dawn of a rainy morning in 1520, a cold breeze swept over the Bosphorus and crashed against the waves of Istanbul. At that very moment, in the Topkapi Palace, a 26-year-old young man walked quietly along the balcony, a man no one knew would soon shake continents. Suleiman, son of Selim. But even the courtiers believed this calm, book-loving prince would never achieve what his fierce father had done. That same morning, news spread like wildfire: Sultan Selim was dying. A terrifying silence fell over the palace, because everyone knew that if the Sultan died, a brutal struggle for power could tear the empire apart. By sunset, the great drums of Topkapi roared through Istanbul. Sultan Selim was dead and Suleiman was now Sultan. Even as the sounds of mourning echoed, some in the shadows whispered that the young ruler was too soft to lead the empire. But Suleiman proved from the very beginning that calmness did not mean weakness. Within weeks, rebellions erupted in different corners of the empire. In Syria, a commander named Kamberdi Ghazali declared independence. When the news reached Suleiman, he simply said, "I bring law, not chaos." His general, Ibrahim Pasha, marched swiftly and crushed the revolt like dust in the wind. Meanwhile, Europe began to realize a new, dangerous ruler had emerged. Western kings believed Suleiman lacked the fire of his father, but once the Ottoman army swept across the Balkans like a dark tide, their hopes turned to fear. Suleiman wanted to rewrite the map of the world in the name of the Ottomans. In 1521, his army reached Belgrade, a fortress even Selim had failed to conquer. Fire and smoke filled the sky. Suleiman was in the front lines, not behind silk curtains. When soldiers saw him, they shouted, "The Sultan is with us." Soon, the Ottoman flag rose over Belgrade, and Europe trembled. But Suleiman's thirst for conquest was far from satisfied. In 1522, he sailed toward Rhodes, home of the war-hardened Knights Hospitaller. The siege lasted 6 brutal months. Underground tunnels, exploding mines, collapsing walls, battle raged above and below the earth. Yet the knights refused to surrender. Finally, after months of bloodshed, Suleiman allowed them to leave safely. Not out of weakness, out of honor. Even his enemies admitted the young sultan was noble, disciplined, and just. But the true storm was brewing inside Topkapi Palace, a silent war of love and politics. Hurrem Sultan, a former slave with beauty, intelligence, and ambition, captured Suleiman's heart. Her influence spread quietly through the palace, igniting jealousy everywhere. But love always has a price, and this one would cost the empire dearly. Years later, while Suleiman battled Europe and Persia, a far more dangerous conflict rose within the palace. Prince Mustafa, his eldest son, adored by the army and people, was accused of treason. His enemies, especially Rustam Pasha, forged letters to convince Suleiman that Mustafa planned a coup. The aging sultan, torn between the heart of a father and the mind of a ruler, faced the most painful decision of his life. In 1553, during the Persian campaign, Mustafa was summoned to his father's tent. He walked inside with the confidence of a true heir, unaware that death waited for him. Moments later, the Sultan's guard seized him. His screams echoed outside the tent. The army wept, commanders lowered their heads. It is said that Suleiman did not sleep that night. The empire lost its crown prince, and the Sultan lost his heart. Yet the world did not allow him to rest. Even in old age, the empire needed its commander. In 1566, at 71, weak and fevered, Suleiman rode with his army once more. Their target, the mighty fortress of Sijitvar. His doctors begged him to return, but he only replied, "A sultan must die on the field, not on a pillow." On the final night, the camp roared like an iron storm outside his tent while Suleiman lay burning with fever. By morning, the fortress fell, yet the sultan never opened his eyes again. He died quietly, surrounded by the empire he had built with fire, law, love, and sorrow. His victories, his justice, his mistakes, and his legend lived on, transforming him from a ruler into an eternal story, one the world still speaks of.